All right, we'll go and get started here with Rory McIlroy at the interview room here at the Zozo Championship at Sherwood. Rory, you've had some experience here at Sherwood in the past, albeit it was 7 and 10 years ago. I guess how has the refresher been going so far this week, and what stands out to you about Sherwood?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some good memories here. This was playing Tiger's event back in the day. This was the first ever competitive round I played with Tiger, was here at Sherwood, which was pretty cool. So remember that, and yeah, it was always a fun time of year. It was coming up to the holidays. It felt sort of pretty festive. It was a little chillier than it is now. So yeah, I've always enjoyed Sherwood. It's a great golf course. It's a great venue for a golf tournament. Whenever this tournament was announced that it would be coming here instead of going back to Japan, I was excited. I think a lot of the guys were looking forward to playing it. And yeah, it's been nice to get out on the golf course the last few days and refresh my memory a little bit of the place. And it hasn't really changed much. The greens are a little different. A little bigger, maybe a little less severe than they were in the past. But yeah, it's great to be here, and nice that we're able to play this week, and obviously not too long of a trip from Vegas, so it's all good.
Perfect. All right, with that, we'll start with some questions. Just go ahead and type your name in the chat, and we will get going here. Go ahead, Jeff. I already see your hand raised, so we'll start with Jeff Shackelford, jeffshackelford.com.
All right. Hopefully this will work. Rory, what are you working on right now with your game, both with this week in mind and with the Masters coming up? What are your focuses?
Yeah, so I've been working quite a bit on some technical stuff in my swing the last few weeks. Trying to get my right arm working a little better in the backswing, get it supporting the club a little more, keeping the club a little more out in front of me. So I mean, I've been working on my swing a bit. I felt like I made some decent progress last week, apart from the last 5 holes on Sunday, and that's really been it. I've been tinkering or messing around with trying to get a little more speed. Not that I could I used it a little bit last week, and I led driving distance, and I was number 1 in strokes gained off the tee. Again this week, it's there's a lot of 3 woods and 5 woods off tees, not that many drivers. But going into looking ahead to a few weeks time at Augusta, it's somewhere where you can maybe hit the driver a little bit more and maybe take advantage of that. But yeah, I felt like most stuff was pretty good last week. If anything, my approach play, my iron play wasn't that good, so just trying to tidy that up. But other aspects of my game, I thought I putted pretty well. Short game was decent. So yeah, just a little bit of swing stuff. Sort of neutralize the ball flight a little bit. And yeah, dial in the approaches, and I think I'll be good to go, and play well this week, and then obviously looking forward to a couple of weeks time as well.
All right, Rex Hogger, golffield.com.
Rory, you've been pretty outspoken talking about how much you miss fans on the golf course and the excitement that they bring. What is your comfort level now that Houston Open and Bermuda have decided to bring back a limited number of fans?
Yeah, I think I'm more comfortable with it now than I was, say, back when we were going to play the Memorial in July with fans. I think that was the first one, and I think everyone was still a little skeptical about that. But I think right now with I think we just know a little more about COVID and what it does. Maybe not long term wise, but at least in the short term, what it maybe does to the body and what the symptoms are, and treatment protocols and therapeutics, and and especially for, it's hard because the demographic that is a tour player and the people that are out on site, if they get COVID, more than likely nothing is going to happen. They might get symptoms for a couple of days, but they'll bounce back and they'll be fine. But it's down the line is if someone gets it, it's we need to still be careful and protect the communities that we play in as well. But if local officials there are comfortable of having fans on site and the PGA Tour are comfortable and working with local health experts, then I'm all for it. I think it's a gradual reintroduction back to having fans again, and but I'm certainly more comfortable with it now than I was maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Thank you.
Let's go to Bob Harry, ESPN.com.
Okay, Rory, hi, thank you. You've been one who's gone to Augusta several times away from tournament week. I'm just curious about the times you went there just for fun, if that was the case. I think you've gone with your dad. And
yeah.
I don't know if you can recount a couple of those. I just wonder how that experience was. Not so much the getting ready for the Masters, but just enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like I've always said, my favorite times at Augusta have been not the Masters. My favorite times have been we've taken a couple of father-son trips, which has just been awesome. And that's it's the greatest, I think for a golfer, the greatest experience in golf is being invited to Augusta by a member, staying in one of the cabins, doing the dinners at night, going down to the wine cellar, picking your bottle of wine, all that sort of stuff. That's the cool. They're the cool things about Augusta that a lot of people don't see. So I've always said my favorite times at Augusta have been away from Masters Week, and I'd say there's a lot of people that feel the same way. And there's going to be a little bit of that feel, come November where it's quieter, no patrons on site, all that stuff. But we've played 2 majors this year where there hasn't been fans, and it's still a different atmosphere than what you get week in, week out. So, but no, as I said, those experiences at Augusta when you're there and there's nothing on the line apart from just having a good time. That's they're the best times.
Have any of those trips been in the fall, and do you recall it playing a lot different than we would see in the spring?
No, most of those trips have sort of been leading up to Augusta. So I think the earliest I've ever been there is February, and I don't know if February is comparable to November in terms of temperature wise. But I feel like I've played Augusta in most conditions. I've played it when it's been in the 40s, and I've played it when it's been in the 80s and 90s. So and sort of everything in between. I think I've played it enough to know what to expect, no matter what the temperature and what the conditions are.
Thank you.
Hey, Bernie McGuire, Daily Record.
Ross, hi, good to see you again.
You too, Bernie.
Just writing about the fact that all Irish golf clubs going into a 6-week lockdown from tonight, which is not good.
No,
anyway,
not good.
No, a lot of indignation too that it's not the golfers' fault, but that's another matter. What I wanted to ask you was, just going back those 10 years, when you played with Tiger, was one of those sort of pinch yourself moments, and was one of those sort of moments where you thought this could be the start of a really good friendship?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the first time that I played with Tiger. We played practice rounds before and got to know each other a little bit. It was first competitive round, so. Yeah, maybe the start of maybe I think at that point I just won on the PGA Tour that year, and I was pretty excited to be playing in that tournament. It was my first time playing, and it's an 18-man field. You got to be one of the best players in the world to tee it up. So I was pretty excited, nervous as well. I remember coming down the last hole. I think he was 5 under for the day and I was 4 under for the day, and I'm thinking, if I birdie I can tie him. He ended up making birdie and shooting 6 under, and I doubled the last to shoot 2 under, so it ended up not being quite as close as it was. But still a great experience, and I think everyone will remember, especially someone of my age and watching growing up watching Tiger. I think I've sort of, that's etched in my memory just that little bit more because, it was a dream of mine to play, in a tournament with them and against them.
And just quickly, a Masters question going ahead in the next couple of weeks. You feel as though you really need these 4 rounds at Sherwood going into Augusta, or you're just comfortable and the 4 rounds really just fine-tuning?
I mean, it's 4 rounds. It's an opportunity to win a PGA Tour event, a really good PGA Tour event. I mean, that's sort of first and foremost what my focus is. It's been a year basically since I've won. I haven't won since China last year. So I think that's first and foremost. It's a great opportunity to try to get a win and get into contention. And I think that would be a big step if I were able to get myself. I haven't really been in contention much since coming back from the lockdown. So if I could get into contention this week and have a chance to win, I think that would be great for just overall, confidence and play and all that. But obviously great looking ahead a couple of weeks time and getting in a position where you're having to hit shots under the gun and under that pressure of trying to win a golf tournament.
Good. Thanks for your time again today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Steve DeMeglio, USA Today.
Rory, what wine did you pick out of the wine cellar?
I don't know. There's been a few. Thankfully, which is nice. We've drank all sorts of wine there. I do remember we went with Jimmy Dunn one time and he picked there's a winery, Dunn Vineyards. So we had a bottle of that. But the cool thing about Augusta as well, I mean, their wine selection is unbelievable, and the prices that the members pay for the wine is very reasonable compared to what it would be in restaurants and other places. So if you're a Augusta member and you're a wine lover, you're in luck.
Are you by any chance working on any specific shots or specific shapes for Augusta right now, or is it too soon?
High bombs, as Phil would say. No, not particularly. I don't think. I think nowadays, everyone talks about trying to hit a draw around Augusta. I mean, Jack Nicklaus won the thing 6 times and wasn't particularly known for moving the ball right to left. So, you need to just execute. You need all aspects of your game in good shape, especially your short game. And I think that, going back to Phil, one of the conversations I remember having with Phil back in the day was, he always tried to get his short game so good at Augusta, so then he could be ultra aggressive with his second shots, knowing that he had a short game to bail him out if he did miss it in the wrong side. So you try and get your short game really sharp and get everything else sort of following that.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Daniel Rappaport, Golf Digest.
Yeah. Hey, Rory.
Hey, Dan.
So it seems like everyone in our circle, listening to all these press conferences, it's all about Augusta. And you mentioned this week, forward to the opportunity to win a big PGA Tour event. But I'm wondering, is it hard to keep your focus on this week and your next start when all everyone seems to be talking about is Augusta?
No, not really. Look, again, it's what's important to you, right? It's not what's important to the masses and what's important to the media. I mean, you guys are going to write about Augusta because that's what people want to hear about, right? Like that's, you're catering to what people want to read. But for me, this is, I'm 100% focused on this week at the Zozo Championship at Sherwood. And, there's no part of my mind that will be on Augusta, Georgia when I'm out there playing those 72 holes this week.
And then now, and I guess the question, there's always talk about big changes at Augusta, like lengthening a 5 or building a TN13, but it seems like there's all these little subtle changes that happen every year that don't get really talked about. How much of the early practice rounds are about mapping out and figuring out those changes? Yeah,
it's mostly to do with the greens, right? Or they'll maybe expand a certain green like by 2 or 3 yards in one section, so they can maybe add an extra pin placement, or they'll add a couple of trees on a certain hole, so you mightn't be able to be as aggressive. Or there's all those little like nuances that people probably don't know about at Augusta. but yeah, they're the subtle things that that they do every year, and I think that's what we don't have the luxury of a green book or anything like that there, so that's why practice rounds are so important, is just to try to really figure out if they've done anything, and they like to be pretty secretive about it as well. So that's why the preparation is key there going into the week.
Thanks, Tom.
I have time for a few more. Doug Ferguson, Associated Press.
Rory, you've had in the 10 or 11 tournaments you've played, tested every week. I'm curious if you've ever been nervous waiting for the result to come back, and how would that anxiety and nervousness be different when you test at Augusta? Since we
I think with having a pregnant wife through COVID, and I've tried to be careful with that, and then with my mother having some respiratory issues, having asthma, I've really tried to be careful as well. So I've never really put myself in a position, I don't think, to anyone can get it, and you can get it from anywhere, I get that, but I've tried to be ultra careful just because of those two things. I guess the only time I was a little nervous was when our daughter was born and I was in the hospital for 3 days, because I think you could catch it there pretty quickly. So I think going to the Tour Championship and getting tested, that was probably the most nervous I'd been about maybe catching it or having a positive test. So yeah, and I think going into Augusta, the next 2 weeks while I prepare there, and I try to be as careful as possible. I don't really, I maybe go to a restaurant once a week while I'm at home, but I try to take all the necessary precautions, and I'm loading up on zinc and magnesium and vitamin D and all the stuff that that's said to maybe help protect you from it, and yeah, so I try to do my part to stay as safe as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Dylan with golf.com.
Hey Rory, this kind of touches back on the idea of preparation in general. Colin Morikawa was saying he's not going to go to Augusta before the Masters, and I was just wondering, how much does preparation matter, like, in general? So how much better are you going to play the second time you play a course, or the fourth time you play a course, versus the first time seeing it?
So I think I've always thought that preparation is only important if you can execute what you're preparing for, right? So like if you're doing all this preparation, but you can't hit your 7-iron out of the middle of the club face and you don't know where it's going, like all that preparation does nothing because you can't execute what you're trying to do. So first and foremost, it's execution. You have to make sure that you're hitting the ball well, you're doing the right things. That is the most important part, is getting your game in shape. But then I think if your game is in shape, that's when the preparation becomes really helpful. So I think all the work leading up to Augusta for most of the guys, or for any tournament, is getting your game in shape, that you're comfortable hitting the ball both ways, hitting shots that you need to hit. And then if you go into the week with that comfort in your game, then the preparation becomes very important, because then you can prepare for any sort of scenario that you might encounter while you're playing the tournament.
Do you feel like you're playing better golf by the end of a tournament week, like on a Sunday versus a Wednesday or Thursday?
No. If anything, I think sometimes your game actually deteriorates as the week goes on, because you've put so much work into the execution and the technical stuff, and I think it's almost by Saturday, Sunday, if you're in contention, you're thinking so much more about the result rather than just the process, that your game starts to maybe become a little more reactive and deteriorate a little bit more. And then that's why it's good to use weeks in between, or Mondays and Tuesdays, to reset and sort of go again. So that's certainly what happened to me last week. I felt like it was sort of one of those, it was like bell curve where it sort of wasn't great the first day, it got sort of good Friday, Saturday, and then it started to go again on Sunday. Then you reset here, and then you sort of try to go again.
Cheers. Thanks, Rory.
Right.
Bill Pennington, New York Times.
Hi, Rory. You said something about nuances at Augusta National, and I was wondering if you could explain at least a little bit what it is that the veteran players of the Masters know about the place that seems to benefit them so much.
Experience. If you go back to a course every year, there's no real surprises. You've probably missed it in similar spots before. You know what it does. There's certain things you remember about certain, like the putt up the 14th green, like that's the slowest putt on the course, and if you have that putt, you remember it. And I think it's just all these little things that, it's just experience. I think that's it. I don't think it's anything like there's more knowledge or more. It's just being in that situation a few more times than guys that haven't been there that much, and being comfortable and having certainty of knowing what this certain shot or this certain putt is going to do.
So it can't be explained, it has to be lived?
Yes, I think so.
Thank you.
Rory, thanks so much for the time, and best of luck this week. We'll see you later on.
Thanks, guys.